The first time I walked into Eli Stoltzfus's summer kitchen in East Hempfield Township, Lancaster County, it was the middle of August. I expected the usual thing: trapped heat, sour air, that heavy electric hum you hear in most buildings by noon. What I found instead changed something in me. The room smelled faintly of lime wash and pine. The light came through high windows in long white bars. I could hear flies outside. I could hear wagon wheels on gravel. I could hear my own breathing. I stood there for 11 minutes looking for the machine that should have been doing the work. It wasn't there. No compressor, no duct chase, no return grill, no plastic thermostat glowing on a wall. And that's when I understood I had been wrong about everything. I had always thought cooling meant making air colder. That day, I realized real cooling starts earlier. You stop the heat before it enters you. You move it out before it sits. You let the building breathe the way a body breathes. The little piece that unlocked it cost $3.98. It sat high in the roofline. It looked almost stupid. Then the room stayed cool while the road outside shimmered. I've been going back to Lancaster County every August for 3 years. Every time, I find something the building industry forgot on purpose. Here is the promise. If you understand what that attic opening was doing, you can cut the roof heat pressing into your rooms by double digits. Then you stop paying to cool heat your house never needed. I am talking about an attic swing of 18 to 24 degrees Fahrenheit in the hottest part of the day. And yes, this works in a 50-year-old house in a city, even if you've never done this before. Stay with me, because what I found in Lancaster County uses the same physics the Persians used to make desert buildings livable 3,300 years ago. Here is what shocked me first. You do not need miracle technology. You need timing, pressure, reflection, and an exit path. Once you see that, the attic stops being dead space. Most houses lose the fight before the thermostat even notices. By the time your air conditioner turns on, the roof deck has already stored heat, and the drywall has already absorbed it. Your rooms are paying interest on a debt the house could have refused at noon. That is why a tiny part high in the attic can matter more than a much larger machine in the yard. One interrupts the problem early, the other bills you late. The science is brutally simple. Heat enters your house in 3 ways: conduction, convection, radiation. The attic punishes you mostly with radiation first, then trapped hot air second. Oak Ridge National Laboratory published a 2010 analysis on this exact problem. In Florida retrofits, radiant barriers delivered 9% cooling energy savings and 16% peak load reduction. That matters because your roof deck can climb well above 140 degrees Fahrenheit while your ceiling drywall sits just below it. You already understand this without noticing. Leave a cast iron skillet in the sun and you can feel the heat before touching it. That is radiant transfer. Your attic does the same thing to the rooms below. A low emittance surface breaks that path. Then moving the hot air out lets the rest collapse. In building terms, you are turning a heat trap into a pressure path. When you add controlled air movement, the numbers get uglier for conventional cooling. The International Energy Agency summarized research showing that higher air speeds can cut cooling energy use by 76% in some cases. In plain English, a fan and pressure path can deliver 10 to 14 units of cooling for every 1 unit of electricity. A conventional central system often lives around a coefficient of performance of 2.8 to 3.6. That gap represents a massive market in compressors, refrigerant, service calls, and ductwork every year. And that is why you have never heard of this. Your body already knows why this works. At 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, you survive by moving heat off the skin. Sweat does not help you in a sealed plastic bag. It helps you when air moves past it. A house behaves the same way. Hot air trapped at the ceiling becomes a wet towel over the face of the building. Give it an exit, and the whole structure breathes easier. Block the radiation, and the house stops storing punishment it never needed. I also want you to hear what the 1978 National Bureau of Standards Workshop found. Power attic ventilators often used more electricity than they saved, especially when they pulled only on hot attic air. The lesson was never that ventilation fails. The lesson was that stupid ventilation fails. If you pay 160 watts to move the wrong air, you buy a smaller mistake with a new mistake attached. If you create a passive path first, then add only tiny assistance, the math changes. I first saw the living proof in Lancaster County, then again near Strasbourg. The air outside felt sticky and loud. Cicadas were screaming. Inside, the upper room stayed calm enough that I forgot to wipe sweat from my neck. I heard no cycling motor. I heard no fan blade chopping air. I just felt a soft pull upward, almost like the house was exhaling. Eli laughed when I kept staring at the roof ridge. He told me, if the hot air knows where to go, it leaves. That was all. No speech, no pitch. He told me his grandfather used the same layout, and his great-grandfather did too. 4 generations. He said the idea came with people from the Palatinate and Alsace. Then it stayed. Replacing what works, he said, is an English habit, not theirs. I went looking for paper after that. I found confirmation in a 1943 Penn State Agricultural Bulletin. I found more in Lancaster records describing detached summer kitchens, vaulted cellars, and ridge ventilators that kept heat away from living rooms. The proof was not abstract. I put my hand on the outer wall after lunch and felt warmth. Then I stepped 2 rooms in and felt the drop. No artificial chill, just steadiness. The goal is not Arctic air. The goal is a room that does not keep punishing you. Eli's wife had jars cooling in the cellar below. The floorboards above stayed dry. Even the smell was different from a compressor house. Less dust, less hot insulation, more wood, more mineral. When I asked how long they trusted the method, Eli shrugged like I had asked how long rain falls downhill. He told me they had used some version of it for more than 200 years. First in houses built into banks, then in summer kitchens, then in workshops with high ridges, shaded walls, and openable vent paths. I went back in October, I went back in May. The principle stayed. Once you see that pattern, you see it everywhere. In Yazd, you can still stand under Persian wind catchers that rose above desert roofs and dragged moving air down into rooms below. Some of the earliest versions reach back 3,300 years to ancient Egypt. Later, Persian Badgirs of Yazd refined the form until towers like the one at Dowlatabad reached 33 meters or 108 feet. The physics never changed. You can trace the same answer through Rome and Korea. In Rome, you can walk the ruins of Hippocaust floors. Hot air was guided under stone rather than blasted into a room. The heat path stayed separate from the breathing air. In Korea, you can trace ondul channels carrying warmth beneath floors so your body feels comfort without violent drafts. Different climates, different materials, same lesson. Control the path. Do not fight the whole sky. You can even see the same logic in the Native American pueblos of the Southwest. Thick adobe walls delayed the day's heat. Small openings controlled glare and airflow. Medieval Germans did it another way. They used deep eaves, thick masonry, and vented roof forms that managed moisture and heat without pretending the roof was harmless. The Persians did not read this in a textbook. Neither did the Romans, neither did the Amish. They figured it out the way all real knowledge gets discovered, by paying attention to what the earth was already doing. Every civilization that mastered extreme condition arrived at the same answer independently. The Amish never forgot. They carried it from the Palatinate to Pennsylvania 290 years ago. They kept building it because it worked. They never needed anyone's permission to do what made sense. Now comes the part that should make you angry. If you follow the paper trail, you can watch a profitable cooling culture replace a building culture. In 1935, General Electric helped showcase 48 tract homes in Washington, D.C. with year-round air conditioning. That decision mattered because it turned cooling from a building skill into a machine sale. Every house designed to need powered cooling, protected equipment, refrigerant, installation labor, and future replacement revenue. The alternative threatened thousands of dollars per house and eventually billions nationwide. I found the mechanism in a document, not a conspiracy memo. In January 1942, the Federal Housing Administration published property standards and minimum construction requirements for dwellings. Oak Ridge National Laboratory later traced the now famous 1:300 attic ventilation ratio to that document. The lab noted that it appeared with no explanation or attribution. Then the Housing and Home Finance Agency reinforced it in 1949 with condensation control in modern buildings. That was the pivot. Once a thin rule becomes a standard, builders stop thinking. They stop asking whether passive cooling should begin at orientation, roof color, air gap, shade, and exhaust path. The manual becomes the mind. You can also follow the allies. Better Homes and Gardens and the home magazines of the mid-century years sold the dream of sealed comfort beside paid appliance advertising. FHA and HHFA standards rewarded standardized tract construction and mortgage approval. Then the Air Conditioning and Refrigeration Institute launched its first rating certification program in 1958. That made the machine easier to specify, compare, and sell. Media wanted ad money, government wanted standardization, industry wanted recurring equipment sales. The connection is not mysterious, it is accounting. I want you to notice the psychological trick. Once comfort becomes a purchase service, you stop looking up, you stop asking why the attic is 145 degrees. You stop asking why a dark roof sits above a bedroom. You stop asking why summer kitchens vanished, why cellars shrank, and why trees got cleared for lawns. You stop asking why the answer arrives on a finance truck. The building industry did not need to ban older ideas outright. It only needed to make them look provincial, poor, and outdated. That is how real knowledge gets erased in America. First, it gets mocked. Then it gets omitted from schools. Then it gets replaced by a specification sheet. Then you inherit the payment plan and mistake it for progress. That knowledge never disappeared. It was set aside. It was waiting for you. An entire field of knowledge disappeared from architecture schools and builder practice. Not because it failed, because it was not profitable, and you are still watching the same play today. In Denver in 2015, industry advocates helped defeat a stronger cool roof proposal. In Baltimore in 2022, the EPDM Roofing Association and the Asphalt Roofing Manufacturers Association pushed against a cool roof ordinance. A narrower policy survived in 2023. Floodlight reported that dark roof manufacturers fought rules that threatened market share and higher margin accessories like seam tapes and sealants. Nobody told you. Not your builder, not your contractor, not the man who sold you a bigger unit. If that sounds petty, look at the money. A brighter roof can cut surface temperature, reduce attic load, and shrink cooling demand before the thermostat panics. But a roof that rejects more heat also threatens a long chain of profitable responses. Bigger units, longer run times, more replacements, more accessories, more financing. A cooler roof and a smarter attic are bad customers. The HVAC systems market in America is worth tens of billions a year. Every passive upgrade you install is a compressor, service contract, or replacement cycle that never gets sold. Now, if you already own a house and you're thinking this only applies to people building from scratch, stay with me, because this next part is specifically for you. You don't need to tear up your foundation, rip out your existing system, or buy equipment. You need a yard, a drill, a ladder, and one weekend. Here's the blueprint I wish somebody had handed you years ago. Start in the attic on the south or west roof slope, where the roof gets punished hardest after noon. You want a low-emittance foil surface with an air gap, not foil smashed flat against wood. A 24-inch by 72-inch automotive windshield reflector costs $3.98 to $9.84 at big box retail. A roll of radiant foil runs $19 to $38. Staple 1x2 furring strips across the rafters so you create a 3/4-inch airspace between the roof deck and the foil face. Leave a 2-inch opening at the ridge and a 2-inch opening above the soffit path. If your attic hatch leaks, fix that before anything else. Add adhesive weather strip around the trim. Screw down a rigid foam lid if the hatch is thin. I like foil-faced polyiso in a 1-inch or 2-inch thickness because it gives you insulation and a reflective skin in one move. Seal the edges with foil tape. Then look for recessed lights, plumbing penetrations, open top plates, and wiring holes. Every one of those gaps lets your house inhale attic punishment after you just spent money lowering attic heat. Seal first, then vent smart. I also want you to respect color and shade. If your roof is due for replacement, a lighter shingle or coated metal changes the whole equation before any vent ever opens. If you cannot replace the roof, start outside. Use shade cloth over the west-facing gable vent, or use a tree line or muslin cotton screen over harsh sun in peak months. If your rafters are 16 inches on center, cut the foil into 14 1/2 inch lanes. Tape the seams with UL 181 foil tape. If your attic floor is already insulated, do not crush that layer. Keep at least 18 inches clear around every existing soffit inlet so the air can rise cleanly. Then add 2 4-inch vent caps or 1 8-inch gable outlet as high as you can place it. If you want active help, use a 20-watt to 30-watt solar attic exhaust fan. Do not use a 160-watt power ventilator that steals savings back from you. For the intake side, I want you to think like Eli did. The house needs a cool place to inhale. Shade the west wall, shade the windows. If you can, run a short buried intake tube only 10 to 16 feet long. Use 4-inch Schedule 40, PVC, or HDPE. Give it a 2% slope away from the house and a screened inlet under deep shade. If you cannot bury pipe, use the coolest north side window you have and pair it with a high attic exhaust path. The principle stays the same. This is where most people overcomplicate it. You are not building a laboratory. You are giving heat a shorter argument and cooler air a cleaner entrance. If you already own a box fan, place it low in the shaded intake window after sunset and point it inward. Then crack an upper window or attic hatch vent on the opposite side by 1 inch to 3 inches. For 45 minutes to 90 minutes after sundown, you purge the stored heat. The next day starts from a lower baseline. That is how you erase the afternoon bill before it appears. I tested this pattern in my own place during a July stretch when the outdoor high sat between 93 and 97 degrees. The upstairs no longer felt charged by 4 p.m. The compressor stopped short cycling. Interior surfaces felt calmer under the hand. That matters more than people think. You live against surfaces, not averages. The thermostat can lie to you, drywall does not. The 3/4 inch air gap is not optional. Foil stapled directly to the roof deck stops reflecting effectively and can trap moisture where you do not want it. I also want you to seal obvious attic bypasses with fire-rated caulk, sheet metal, or foil-faced polyiso scraps before you celebrate. Otherwise, you will suck dusty attic air into the rooms below and call the method a failure when the leak was yours. The rest is ordinary work. You can do a 1,200 square foot house in one Saturday morning if the attic is accessible. Give it 2 weekends if you are adding the shaded intake. Material cost lands low. Foil, tape, furring strips, vent caps, insect screen, screws, and sealant usually total $86 to $214. Add a small solar fan and you still sit around $168 to $312. Use low-E radiant foil, Schedule 40 PVC or HDPE stainless staples, and foil tape. Do not let anyone sell you the fantasy of one magic device. The foil matters because it blocks radiant loading. The air gap matters because reflection needs space. The shade matters because you win easiest before heat reaches the shell. The exhaust path matters because trapped hot air behaves like stored debt. The purge matters because night air is free. Put those together and the little attic part finally makes sense. On a 95-degree day, this setup can keep the upper attic zone dramatically less punishing. It also drops the ceiling pressure that drives heat into your rooms. In practice, attic air can run 18 to 24 degrees cooler near the foil lane and exhaust path. Hotter air stays trapped elsewhere. Then your house stops charging the drywall like a battery. It requires attention once a year. Check the screen, check the tape, check that insulation never blocked the inlet. Your conventional system costs $7,800 to $14,600 to install. It costs $186 to $327 per month to run in peak season. It lasts 12 to 18 years before it ends up in a landfill. This costs $86 to $312 total. It lasts 20 to 30 years. Your choice. Everything I've covered across this channel is now in one place. Root cellar cold storage, lime wash mold control, rain barrel pressure systems, step by step, season by season, room by room, in the order the families actually use it. It doesn't even have a name yet. Link is in the description. But stay here, because what Eli built is the part nobody's talking about yet. Because the deeper truth is not really about attics, it is about attention. The Amish did not read this in a textbook. They figured it out the way all real knowledge gets discovered, by paying attention to what the building was already doing. Hot air rises, wet things cool, thick walls buffer, shade matters. A bright surface rejects what a dark surface absorbs. That knowledge never disappeared. It was filed away. It was waiting. You have been trained to think every comfort problem deserves a monthly payment. You have been told the answer lives in a catalog, a truck, a warranty, and a technician's clipboard. That story keeps you dependent. It keeps you buying cold air after the heat has already entered your house. The older story starts sooner. It starts at the roofline, then the vent path, then the shade, then the attic floor, then the decision to stop paying twice for the same mistake. I want you to notice what that does to your sense of control. The moment you understand this, the house stops feeling like a machine you rent from other men. It starts feeling like shelter again. Something you can read, something you can correct, something that answers back when you pay attention. If you believe real knowledge was pushed aside to protect someone else's profit, you already know what to do. Hit subscribe, not for me, for what comes next, because this is not a channel. This is a quiet movement of people who have decided they're done being sold what they already own. I want to hear from you. Drop your state, drop your worst summer power bill. Tell me whether your grandparents used a summer kitchen, attic vent, or shaded porch. I read every single one, and your answers decide what we cover next. Next week, I'm going to show you what a 1946 Penn State document proves about keeping a food room cold without compressors. The technique uses nothing but lime, brick, moving water, and shade. And the bulletin from 1946 proves the extension men knew about it decades before modern kitchens buried it. You're not going to want to miss that one.